Hello, lovely Romanian learners. Welcome back to the Romanian Academy, your trusted hub for Romanian learning as a second language. Today we're embarking on a comprehensive journey covering Romanian pronouns for beginners. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid grasp of this essential part of the Romanian language. Plus, stay tuned for the upcoming episodes of this season because we'll delve even deeper into all the topics we cover today. Every upcoming episode will be carefully tailored to address real-life scenarios so that you can get better through practical experience. As always, I will not bail on explaining the most frustrating topics as well as I can. Before we go to the whiteboard, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel because it really helps loads, and maybe there's some other Romanian learner out there that is very confused on how to learn grammar or Romanian culture. Now, I know this is a very specific subject, a very specific theme in Romanian, the pronouns. I know there are cases, there are numbers, there are genders, and it takes a while to get. Regardless of that, I really want you to take it slowly, digest one episode at a time, and by the end of the season, I guarantee you will have confidence in using pronouns. Romanian pronouns. Romanian pronouns are like a linguistic mule workhorse. Imagine a strong donkey that serves as a substitute for nouns, and it facilitates smooth communication. Just like in English, they save us from repetition, and it makes sentences flow naturally. Imagine after you already introduced John, you would not say in the second sentence, John again. You would rather say he, right? In this video, we'll dive into the world of Romanian pronouns, and we're going to cover specifically the categories that make this very strange world for many. And we're going to give examples in both English and Romanian to what you should focus on when you learn pronouns. In future video, we'll go into the depths of it, but also we'll cover all the tables, all the shortenings, all those ugly intricacies. And as I said in the intro, you will learn pronouns and you will feel confident. Romanian pronouns come in many shapes and forms. Some are personal and some are impersonal. I wouldn't give this kind of information unless I think it would really help you to know about this. The reason is quite simple. Let's take, for example, the sentence Ana este împreună cu el. Ana is together with him. Here, him can be, for instance, John or Andrei or whatever name you want. So you can attribute a person directly. You can replace that with a name, right? However, if you take an impersonal example, an impersonal pronoun, let's take maybe care sunt prietenii tăi. Here actually we have two. We have two pronouns, tăi and care. Yeah, yours and care, which I know it might come surprising that which is a pronoun, but it actually is. Regardless, care, yeah, which, it cannot be replaced with a person. It cannot be replaced, which cannot be replaced with a human being, with a name, with anything. It's like a question. There are in total quite a few groups of nouns: personal, interrogative, possessive, demonstrative, relative. indefinite, and so on. But there are 5 specific ones that I want you to focus more on the others because they are more important and you will get more if you learn those. There are also some vocabulary pronouns, as I like to call them. You like to learn them, but you will really encounter them sporadically. For example, you will have the sentence cu ea însăși vorbit, right? It's really her that I talked to. This însăși is an emphasis pronoun, but you'll not really listen or hear it or read it or speak it very often. So that's why I think pronouns such as el, tăi, or care, or actually even here, are more important than those vocabulary pronouns. In this second category, there are 3 types mainly. Reflexive, that I think should be learned with verbs. Emphasis pronouns, such as those, însăși, and indefinite pronouns. Because you cannot really assign any kind of definition to them. Those all should be learned as individual vocabulary sessions, not under the big umbrella of pronouns. So all those pronouns serve a unique purpose in building sentences. And in the upcoming episodes, we will talk about each one of them individually. However, for this specific instance, we will cover the categories and just give you a little idea of what they look like and what you should focus on. Right? For example, starting with the first one, personal pronouns. All right? Let's look at those 3 sentences, starting off with English. Jim came back home. He was away for 3 months. I haven't seen him since last year, though. I wished, and this bracket means that in Romanian you should think about that too. You will see later why. Him a safe journey when we last met. So you might notice the pronouns here are he, him, and this is going together, to him. Now, how would those sentences look in Romanian? We will see also in a second. What I want you to see is that in English, here we have 1 pronoun, 2 pronouns that are actually different. So sometimes you get lucky to have differences between pronouns, but most of the times in English you'll have only 1 set, and then in Romanian you'll have maybe 3 sets because of gender, number, and case differentiations. Here, Jim is the person that we talk about, and then later we say he was away for 3 months, right? So Jim's place is taken by he, which in Romanian would be something like el a fost plecat 3 luni. El is the pronoun. Then, later on, we speak again about Jim, but we don't want to say Jim because it's quite obvious we're talking about him. And I say, I haven't seen him since last year, though. In this instance, him will also be different in Romanian. And the sentence would be nu l, nu îl, but it's actually l. So we get to the short form, nu l-am văzut de anul trecut, totuși. Yeah, so maybe I'll put this underneath here. Yeah, like that. So here the L is him, and here el is he. As you can see, so far it matches quite well to English. You have a different form. It depends even in gender and number. You will not really find that too often. And then finally, I wished to him a safe journey when we last met. Let's write this underneath here as well. The reason I put the to in brackets is because sometimes in Romanian you need to think of that to as a direction. It is all about dative. If you haven't watched the cases video, check it out right now. You have it up here. That's why we know that this to translates to dative, right? So îi, it would be îi, but we shorten it to I. I-am dorit o călătorie plăcută când, and here it's also a different pronoun, but I'm not going to get too much into that because we met each other. It's reflexive, but it's another kettle of fish, so I'm not going to get into it right now. I-am dorit o călătorie plăcută. I think just to confuse you less, I'm just going to put ... right? Because the second part is irrelevant for this conversation. I, so I-am, yeah, is the to him. Here you have 3 different situations of personal pronouns in a conversation about Jim, and we replace Jim or mentions about Jim with he, him, or to him. Even though in English you don't have this to, in Romanian you should imagine it as to. Just another reminder. Next we move to interrogative pronouns. Very interesting topic because they are extremely important for you to ask questions. Something that is quite straightforward maybe when you think about the way you structure your sentences, but you need to know those words, those interrogative pronouns. I know it might not be the exact first thing you want to do, but I assume after you will start learning some verbs and some personal pronouns, you will move into those. For example, what do you want to eat will translate into Romanian to ce vrei să mănânci, right? So this will become this. This ce here or what, this is the interrogative pronoun. And they are indispensable to engage into meaningful conversations, right? You want to know them as soon as possible. There's not a lot to talk about them. They are all the question words, as some people refer to them. And that's basically it. We can move then to possessive pronouns. Possessive pronouns that we have seen actually in the example up here. I didn't mention at that time, but apart from care, which is an impersonal pronoun, you also have tăi. So tăi is a possessive pronoun. It's a pronoun that describes ownership. Another way to think about ownership is the relationship between an owner or a possessor and the possession. So it's something that somebody owns, right? When we look at those sentences here, we have her room was left untouched. Who do you think is the possessor and what do you think is the possession? Her and room, right? Those are the 2 words that you might have a look at. Room is the possession. Let's call it possession. And her is the owner. I know it sounds weird for you, but even in English you have those possessive pronouns. You have a different form for she. You don't say she room, you say her room to describe exactly the same situation. The possession and the possessor. In Romanian, that will be camera ei a fost neatinsă. So this ei here is the equivalent of her. Same here. Is this one hers? Hers describes the possessor. However, as it changes in English and you add another S, you will see a difference in Romanian as well. Because depending on what this one is, this hers will look differently. So, este, acesta, al ei. This is one of the options. Is this hers? So al ei will become hers. Al ei together means hers. We'll get into the depths of it in a future episode. Next, we have the demonstrative pronouns, and the next step after possessives, something that you will get to know, and you will hear a lot of them, but I would say don't focus too much time learning them at the very beginning, because you will get confused about the tone, the absolute tone of variety when it comes to demonstrative pronouns. So in English you have the words this, those, these, and that. 4. Yeah? In Romanian, each and every single one of them will multiply twice because of gender and twice again because of case. So what you have 4 in English, you get to 4 times 2, 8 times 2, 16. So you'll get quite crazy. So demonstrative pronouns like acesta, acela, ela, aia, forgot to mention about the popular terms, which we will cover in a future video. There's these kind of words that help you indicate specific items in close proximity or far away. So you use these pronouns to point to objects or ideas in a conversation. In future episodes, we'll probably dive into covering the deeper meaning of demonstrative pronouns and their usage in literature and poetry. For now, though, let's look at this. This is a beautiful house. This right here is a beautiful house. So you'll have aceasta este o casă frumoasă. I'm not going to cover the second one yet, because in order to understand the second one, you actually need to know the demonstrative adjectives. We'll cover the demonstrative adjectives briefly when we talk about the pronominal adjectives. It's a very interesting topic that is not very different from the pronouns, but you should know a little bit about it. So in this instance, this is aceasta. Cool. Moving on to relative pronouns, and I would say probably the most advanced topic, even though it doesn't look like it. So these relative pronouns are quite special in many, many ways. They are words like care, pe care, căruia, căreia, and they connect clauses. If I say, for example, copilul care cântă e fericit, yeah, so you have 2 verbs in there, copilul care cântă este fericit, the child who sings is happy. So the care in that sentence, the relative pronoun glues those sentences together. In future episodes, we'll probably discuss the influence of relative pronouns in other parts of Romanian, probably some storytelling. That's where the sentences get longer. Even though in general in Romanian, sentences are way longer than in English. Who am I kidding? So here, the person who sings now seems very happy, and I haven't seen in 2 weeks the dog whose owners went on holidays. The person who sings now seems very happy. That would be persoana care cântă acum pare foarte fericită. Boom. That is, and I will tell you very briefly right now how this works. That is a phrase. It's made of 2 sentences. Each sentence has a verb. Bam. Bam. Now, when you know the verbs, you also want to identify the pronoun, the relative pronoun, and that is care. What happens here is that care begins a secondary sentence that ends pretty much before the other verb. So you'll have something like 1, 2, and then 1 again. I know this doesn't look like language anymore, but this is extremely important when you get to learn the relative pronouns, because depending on this and the role of those words in the sentence, you will know which relative pronoun to use. And it's not the easiest thing. It's probably the most advanced thing that can happen with pronoun, and even for us Romanians, we learn it probably at the very end of studying grammar. Similarly, I haven't seen in 2 weeks the dog whose owners went on holidays. I know in English you will not really say it like this, but we do tend to go a bit overboard with the length of the sentences in Romanian. Nu l-am văzut de pe câinele ai cărui stăpâni au plecat în vacanță. Here probably is quite obvious, ai cărui, whose, but I'm not going to get into much detail on those. Come back when we release the relative pronouns episode. Pronominal adjectives are a bit like pronouns and adjectives had a baby. They agree in gender and number, and also case, with the nouns they refer to. For example, acest măr means this apple, and acești copii means these children. This is a bit different, and maybe it rings a bell, because when we looked up at the demonstrative pronouns, I told you we'll talk later about those cars are expensive. If you look here, this can work on its own. But here, you refer to it as those cars. You use it together with cars. So this is a pronoun, and those is an adjective because it describes the car. So many times you'll see that the pronouns actually have an adjective as well, an adjective form. Not always, but for example, for demonstrative, for possessive, there are pronominal adjectives. That is a great dish would be aceea este o rețetă sau o masă, maybe a masă, o rețetă, un fel de mâncare. Splendid. Super. Cool. Great can have many ways. O rețetă bună. Let's use o rețetă bună, yeah? So aceea here, it's it, right? It's a thing. But here, that dish is not my favorite. Acea rețetă nu este preferata. Sorry about that. Mea. That is a great dish. Aceea este o rețetă bună. That dish, acea rețetă. You see, they are different not just because of no reason, but because this is the adjective and this is the pronoun. They are very similar, and that's even an extra reason to not learn them straight away, but just to get used to them, to get used to bring them into your vocabulary, to get used to hearing them, to listen to them, to speak, to read them, because it's actually very little difference between the adjectives and the pronouns. And furthermore, now that we touched on that and this and those, demonstratives are also part of this conversation. Finally, we know that cases are an absolute pain in the ass in Romanian. Cases in Romanian, it's a very tricky topic, and I am very aware of that. However, for pronouns, it's probably the most difficult topic, because if, for example, for adjectives, for pronouns, for numbers, you get most of the times two groups. You get the nominative and accusative, and then you get the genitive and dative. So basically they're conjugating the same, not conjugate, they are based on the same rules if it's nominative and accusative, and it's based on the same rules if it's genitive or dative. If you have one, you have two. Yeah, you have two types. Well, for pronouns, the things get quite crazy. Here, I do not know. This will be nominative. She met me. This will be accusative. My wardrobe is full. My will be genitive. This is probably quite straightforward. It's about possession. Tell me what happened. This will be dative. Tell to me what happened. Here, all of those will have different forms. In English, they do as well. They're all personal pronouns. Cases play a major factor for pronouns. I would say it's more important to know cases than it is to know the genders and numbers when we're talking about pronouns. That's what makes it even more difficult, and I know you're looking forward for the next episodes already. To communicate better, it's crucial to understand how pronouns work in the Romanian culture. But if this seems overwhelming, do not worry. I know there are a lot of different pronoun forms. We will explore the cultural customs and manners tied to the pronouns in our future episodes, and we'll dive deeper into choosing the right pronouns and how they can affect our social interactions, taking into account the differences between regions and generations, because as you might know, that is quite an important factor as well. That's a wrap for our in-depth guide for Romanian pronouns for beginners. I want to say that even though this is one of the most complicated topics in Romanian, splitting each of those pronouns into categories, seeing the patterns, being aware of the genders, numbers, and cases is extremely important. The trickier part is when to use them and how to use them. Use cases, different regions, colloquialisms, all of those play a very important factor. What you can do, though, is to be aware of the base forms and the patterns when they change into plurals, feminine, genitive, dative, and all of those. As I usually say to my students, pronouns, cases, and subordinates are the three elements that if you get right in Romanian, you can be considered advanced. There's also obviously the slang and the colloquialisms, but if you get those three elements of grammar right, a Romanian will look differently at you. Now, if you found this video valuable, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that other Romanian learners can find this. Please share your questions and feedback in the comment section below, and stay tuned for more language learning content, specifically for Romanian. In the upcoming videos of this season, we will take a level-based approach into covering those pronouns, so you might want to stick around. Till the next time, happy learning and la revedere!